these were just some more summary information from that same study. We did a random survey throughout the state, both in 2002 to 2005, and then a follow-up economic study in 2009. And for us was very interesting because we started seeing the links in terms of people had told us that water quality was important to them, but now we're actually able to see that in the data we're collecting, that where we've gone and had significant improvements to water quality and substantial changes, we've seen that water quality transfer over to increased usage. And for us, we're able to communicate that social aspect to it in terms of a program, in terms of what that does for the state, and the positives of working on these lakes for Iowans. And so that's why I wanted to kind of blend that in a little bit to our program specifically. And we relied on a lot of that same information that we've just gone through in terms of water quality, our public benefit in terms of economics and visitation, feasibility of restoration. Some of that was related to watershed drainage in terms of acres of watershed to the lake area. And obviously there's other items that we would review in terms of the feasibility or what we would need to do to restore a lake. So that was used to develop our program criteria and processes, and has kind of the backbone of our program. And these are some of the water quality targets that we have when we restore a system. We're looking for about 4.5 feet of water clarity, and that, water clarity is something that has implications for overall health and quality of the system. So that's why it's one of our standards for what we're trying to achieve. Beaches meeting recreational use standards. We don't want to see signs that are telling people they can't swim that day, and having that in the back of their mind that that's part of recreating in Iowa, to have to check on what's going on at a given beach. It should be a given that they can go down to their local beach and enjoy it for those purposes. And again, just that we're trying to do things that are sustainable. We have always in the back of our mind a 50-year life to some of these projects. I wanted to just quickly, there's about 2-3 examples of what we've done in terms of restoration projects. If your students are interested in terms of not just water quality issues, but then what type of things end up going into a plan to address these issues. Clear Lake up in Cerro, Gordo County has been one of our major projects, and we had started with a diagnostic feasibility study of this system through Iowa State University, and those for us are a way to gather information, come up with restoration alternatives, and then blend that into a plan of action. In Clear Lake, they identified dredging on the west end, selective dredging to increase the depth and help with sediment deposition, and also just adding that depth to that area and limiting resuspension of sediments by a wave action. And so we've done some dredging in that system, and actually a really neat aspect is this project now we're doing with the Corps of Engineers starting this spring, which is both a water control structure and a fish barrier structure between Ventura Marsh and the lake. And that will allow us to control water levels, help reestablish vegetation in that marsh area, and also a way to control rough fish. There are carp in Clear Lake. We feel if we can limit their spawning areas, knock down their populations, and also reestablish the health of that marsh system, that will be another important component to improving the lake. We've already seen substantial increases in water clarity on the west end of the lake compared to historical levels and decreases in phosphorus and suspended solids. And so we feel like we're moving in the right direction. And this is Lake Darling in Washington County. This lake is a really good example of local participation from landowners. The really important aspect of having that volunteer aspect and working with cost share programs. There's been over 137 projects with over 60 landowners on that watershed over the past 6 years that have reduced sediment loading by over 50%. And that gets to that aspect of really controlling the watershed before we move into the lake with more expensive in-lake restoration options. And so we've done work both on private land and on our state ground in terms of different water control structures, sediment control structures, and landscape usage in terms of farming practices. And this year we'll be rebuilding actually the dam structure that had been failing and showing a substantial rate of leakage. And along with that, we'll do some shoreline work and again some selective dredging in the upper end. This lake had, since it had been built, had decreased from over 300 acres down to about 265 acres. So that's what we're dealing with a lot of these systems that have had a high rate of sedimentation in their histories. And so that work will get underway this year here. And Carter Lake, they have a really good website, the Carter Lake Preservation Association there. And this is, I think, if you're located more in an urban area, would be a project that you could go to for information in terms of the different partners that had to come to the table. This is both not just a multi-agency project from Iowa's end, it's also both the state of Nebraska and Iowa. This is an oxbow lake that had been cut off from the Missouri River, and actually to get to part of Iowa, which many of you probably know, the city of Carter Lake, you have to drive first through Omaha and Nebraska to get to that section of Iowa. And this is two approaches that have been implemented so far in terms of a total fish renovation of both primarily carp and buffalo. Over 90 tons of fish were removed from the lake this past year, a total renovation, and then it has started to be restocked and will be continued to be restocked over the next couple of years. And an alum injection, which for Iowa is one of our first projects using that process of injecting alum, and this would then tie up phosphorus and bind it and settle to the bottom of the lake, and therefore not making it available for productivity. So this slide is basically kind of going back to the last three projects is really just trying to show the process we work through in terms of initial assessment, collecting information, setting up a plan that will take into account restoration alternatives or a suite of options that will get us to our water clarity goals, and then starting with work in the watershed and reaching a point of improvement before we start some of our in-lake restoration work. And with that, this is contact information for both myself and Mike McGee here at the DNR, and a web link to our lake restoration program. And with that, we can open things up to questions.